Hey, Club56ers, we're in week 2 of our September series, Running with the Giants. Today's story is coming from the book of Daniel about 3 cool dudes named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These guys set an amazing example on not compromising your faith over the peer pressure they were facing. Before we talk about it, let's watch this fun video that gives a great visual of this Bible story.
It's time for a Bible story. A long time ago in the land of Israel, there lived 3 young guys named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Whoa, hold on, wait a minute. What are those names? Did you say their names were Sad Rat, Mean Hat, and a Bendy Goat?
No, not even close. Their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they were some pretty solid dudes. They loved God with all their heart, and things were going pretty well for them. Until one day, all of that changed.
Wait, let me guess what happened. They were taken from their homeland by an invading army.
Well, actually, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Do you know the story already?
Whoa, really? Crazy. That was just a random guess. What are the odds of that, huh?
Well, you're right. Israel was invaded by the wicked King Nebuchadnezzar.
Whoa, that stinks. And double whoa, because the names in this story are crazy.
I know, right? King Nebuchadnezzar invaded their country and took a bunch of people captive, and then brought them back to his home country called Babylon.
Hold up. Okay. I know the names in this story are a little wonky, but you gotta be kidding me. He was from a place called Babyland? That sounds awesome. An entire country full of adorable babies? Actually, that doesn't sound awesome. I bet it smelled like a giant diaper. Ugh.
No, not Babyland. It was called Babylon, and I'm sure it smelled just fine.
Gotcha. So what happened when they got to Babylon?
Well, they were trying to adjust to where they live now. I mean, one day they're chilling at home in Israel, and the next day they're in a totally different country. They didn't know anybody there, they don't speak the language, and on top of all that, they were forced to work as slaves.
Yikes, that is pretty rough, man. I bet they were like so super scared. I mean, they're in a completely different country, they don't know anybody, they're completely on their own. Man, I would be totally freaked out.
Actually, they didn't freak out. They knew God was with them, so they kept on like they had before. Every day they would pray and worship God.
Hey, that's great to hear. Sounds like things could turn around, huh?
Well, things did change, but not really in the way that you might expect. One day, King Nebuchadnezzar decided to have a huge statue of himself built. He wanted it to be 90 feet tall and made out of gold.
Seriously, a 90-foot golden statue of himself? Man, what a waste of a statue. I'd rather have a 90-foot gold statue of something awesome, like a really fat hamster. Oh, or like a unicorn playing guitar.
I agree. Those would be pretty sweet. But no, he wanted it to be of himself. And once the statue was built, he ordered people from all around to come and see it. He had musicians set up all around the statue and gave the order that when they started to play, everyone would bow down and worship him.
Okay, that's a little weird. So what does this have to do with our 3 amigos exactly?
Well, that's where things get interesting. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were some of the people that were ordered to come and see the statue. But, as you can imagine, they weren't very interested in worshiping King Nebuchadnezzar. They only worshiped God.
So what happened?
Just like the king ordered, the band kicked in and everybody bowed down to the statue except for 3 people. You want to guess who?
Larry, Curly, and Moe.
Swing and a miss. It was actually Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And as you can imagine, the king was not very happy with them disobeying his orders. But he liked Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, so he gave them a second chance to change their minds and worship him. The band kicked in again, everybody else bowed down, but
let me guess, they didn't bow.
No sirree, Bob.
Yeesh, I bet he really did not like that.
No, he did not. King Nebuchadnezzar was furious that they had refused to worship him, but they held firm and told the king that they would only worship the one true God.
Oh boy, I bet they got punished pretty bad, huh? What'd they get, like 1,000,000 spankings?
No, much worse than that. The king's guards grabbed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and took them to a huge fiery furnace, a giant oven with flames blazing out all over it.
Good grief, that thing is no joke. It's gotta be like 1,000,000 degrees, or like a bazillion Celsius, or like 5 Kelvin.
Well, look at you, Mr. Science. And yes, it was very hot. The king decided to give them one more chance to bow down to him. And if they didn't, he was going to throw them into the fiery furnace.
Whoa, he was seriously gonna like kill him?
Straight up.
So what'd they do? I mean, did they just give in and bow down? I mean, listen, that would be totally understandable. I mean, look at that oven thing, man. They'd get roasted like marshmallows in there. That would be terrifying.
That's true. It was a pretty scary situation, but they trusted in God and they weren't afraid. They knew that God was more powerful than King Nebuchadnezzar, and if God was on their side, they didn't have to be afraid. So when the king said one last time to bow down, they refused.
Uh-oh. So did he throw them in the furnace?
Nope. Instead, the king ordered the furnace to be made 7 times hotter than it already was, and then throw them in.
What? How do you even do that? That's gotta be like as hot as the sun, or like an atomic bomb, or my new mixtape.
No. But it got so hot that when the guards opened the door, the heat was so strong that they were instantly killed.
Oh, look, the guards are dead. Now's your chance. Run for it, guys.
Well, there were other guards. Kind of an expendable resource back then.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
So another set of guards grabbed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, dragged them over to the furnace, and threw them inside. King Nebuchadnezzar and everybody else watched as they closed the door and waited. But what happened next? Nobody ever expected. There in the furnace, in those blazing hot flames, stood 4 men.
Wait, what? They didn't die? Like an instant, terrible death of burning and dying?
Nope. The guards and King Nebuchadnezzar could not believe their eyes. There were 4 figures standing in the flames, totally fine.
Hold up, wait a second. There were 4 people? I thought you said they threw in 3 people. You know, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That's only 3.
True, but there was a 4th person in the furnace with them. It was Jesus.
What?
Yep, Jesus was with them in the fiery furnace and protected them from the flames. King Nebuchadnezzar told them to come out, and they walked out completely unharmed. Their clothes didn't even smell like smoke.
That is incredible. So that's why they weren't afraid of the king, huh? They trusted in God so much and knew that he would be with them when the times got tough.
Exactly. That day, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego showed King Nebuchadnezzar and everyone in Babylon that God was with them, and no matter what came their way, they didn't have to fear.
That is totally stinking awesome.
You bet. The end.
What a story. First of all, how awesome is it to have legit ride or die friends? They supported each other in the face of criticism because they knew that our God is bigger than anything they may face. God makes the impossible things possible. There are a few things we can learn from these guys and their story. The first is you are not alone. No matter the situation or what is going on, God is with you. You can see in this story that when they were tossed into the fire, that God is always with them. In Daniel 3:24-27, it says, "But suddenly Nebuchadnezzar jumped in amazement and exclaimed to his advisors, 'Didn't we tie up 3 men and throw them into the furnace?' 'Yes, your majesty, we certainly did,' they replied. 'Look,' Nebuchadnezzar shouted, 'I see 4 men unbound, walking around in the fire unharmed, and the 4th looks like a god.' Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the door of the flaming furnace and shouted, 'Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out. Come here.' So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. Then the Most High officers, officials, governors, and advisors crowded around them and saw that the fire had not touched them. Not a hair on their head was singed, and their clothes were not torched. They didn't even smell like smoke. Even in the face of death, God is with them just like he is with you. No matter if the situation is about family, friends, depression, anxiety, who you are dating, or whatever else it could be, you are not alone in those battles. We can stand in our faith and know we will be okay because God is there. The second thing you need to know is with God, you can accomplish the impossible. You see in Daniel 3 that these 3 guys stand on their faith and don't bow down to the pressure around them. Even before they were tossed into the fire that was 7 times hotter than it normally is, they still stood on their faith. God used them to show us many years later that when we stand on our faith, God can take any situation that feels impossible to win into a victory. Some of you know that my dad had a heart transplant a while back. It was a scary month of watching my dad fight for his life and my mom fight for my dad to get a second chance at life. During that time, it felt like I was fighting a battle that I was not equipped to fight. Just like last week's story of David and Goliath and this week's story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I had to stand on my faith and let God handle this impossible battle. Once I let it go and gave it to God, I watched Him turn my family's battle into a victory. I know some of you may not be facing a situation like this, but I do know you're facing something. If you only take one thing away from this lesson and story, I hope it's that in every battle we face, we can stand firm in our faith because our God can get us through it. Don't forget, each week you can check out citypointchurch.com/club56 to find your weekly scripture, weekly devotional, new lessons, and games and experiments for you and your family to try out that week. And before we go, if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see in a Club 56 video, or if you'd like to be in a Club 56 video, have you or your parents email mwoods@citypointchurch.com to get more information on how to do that. That's all I have for you today. I hope you leave today's lesson encouraged that you can take your next step in your walk with Christ. I love you guys. I hope you're staying safe, and I'll see you all again soon. Adios.